Hey ho, everybody in the YouTube land. I have got a very special subject that I'd like to discuss today. And it is very close to home because this is something that I have apologized for my looks, but unfortunately there's no luck. There's just no hope for me. No, I'm just not feeling well, and the pain meds that I'm on doesn't help either. So I'm going to put a bit of stuff on my dry lips before I do continue to start talking. Okay, so as I said, what I want to talk about today rings close to home, and it's something that I have attempted on 3 occasions. And out of 200 Australians a day, 8 of those Australians succeed. 15, from the ages of 15 through to 44, statistically, these are the ages of these 200 people, 800 succeed, that attempt suicide. It rings close to home because I attempted suicide myself on 3 occasions. One occasion, my husband found me, and I was still coherent enough for him to shove honey down my throat. And to save the embarrassment, no ambulance was called. That was my choice. The other 2 times, during the stage of having the hypo, I chickened out and I ate a whole heap of carbs that I had at home, and I ate probably about a jar of honey. I chose the method of insulin because that was free and easy. I'm a diabetic. It is not a nice feeling. I hate the feeling of having a hypo. It's terrible. Oh my God, my looks. I tell you. Oh, I'm going to fix up today when I get a shower. But okay, so yeah, it's not a nice way to go at all. I hate the way that you feel during a hypo. I don't know whether it's hereditary. I don't know, but I guess I could read up and find out about it. And I guess I didn't really want to read up about it. I wanted to just make this video. I will include some information in my description below. And I did find that beyondblue was the first port of call for me when I did want to seek help. So when I decided to get help for my depression and anxiety in my later years, which was between the ages of 15 and 44, I was very lucky on 3 occasions. Out of those 200 Australians that try a day, I was very lucky not to be one of those successful 200 Australian, 8 Australians a day that do attempt and follow through and die from suicide. I don't know whether it's hereditary, but one of my other family members is finding it very hard at the moment, mental health wise. Thank God this person is living with us, because I think I'd worry even more outside of home. I mean, I've given her all the information I can give her, that what I found was healthy. I've made her a doctor's appointment. One, she's cancelled. She told me, now, Mum, no matter what happens, you do not let me cancel an appointment. We had a fight over that. I ended up saying sorry. I know I was partly to blame for that fault. I hold no judgment because I believe God is the only person that can judge. However, I do believe she should have said sorry too, but because of her current mental health status, I'm not pushing anywhere. So at the moment, I'm just letting it go. Don't know whether I should or not, but the thing is, I've been told, I've asked some questions that I was asked, and I gave the same answers as this person gave. So as far as I'm concerned, help is warranted and it is needed ASAP. But obviously, I'm not going to push her to do something she doesn't want to do. I've already given her away, but it doesn't matter. She won't watch this vlog anyway, so I've inserted some information below. It's a particular web page that I went to that I found very, very helpful. And I hope it helps you. I had no idea that over 200 Australians, we're only talking Australians here, attempt suicide daily and 8 are successful. And something just came to mind, and I wonder how many homeless people are included with that 200. I want to tell you about my visit to mental health, and I volunteered myself because in 2015 I got myself a spinal injury, and that spinal injury was caused from a few things. A very bad cough. I'm not going to go into it detailed. A very bad cough, helping my mum move her house furniture because my brothers couldn't help because they didn't love their mother. And anyway, long story short, I tried to move because I couldn't stay in my car, obviously, when I went to visit her, and I couldn't stay at my brother's house when I was in Grafton visiting my mother. I used to sleep in my car, but someone complained numerous times about this woman sleeping in the car. So I then moved my mother's single recliner couch from the storage shed into the back of my car, and I moved that to her unit, little bedroom, and I used to camp out on that and then leave early hours of the morning. But anyway, that's what actually gave me my back injury, and I now have prolapsed discs, I have impingements, I have herniations, right throughout my thoracic and lumbar and sacral area, so multiple levels. And I'm on heavy pain medication. So when my back pain originally first started, I was going to my doctors, but when the doctors were closed, I went to the emergency rooms at my local hospital. And, you know, it was okay. I was given some medication at some stage, but because it's not a life-threatening issue, my back pain, then I couldn't be put into hospital, basically, and treated. I had to wait and go to a pain clinic, which I did go to in the end. But because people with drug addictions go into the ER and they want to get a fix, they say they've got pain, this means that people like myself that go in there to ask for pain medication sort of suffer in a way, because we're not just given pain medication as easy as that. And I've gone over this scenario, in this particular scenario, in another video, which, take a look. I've only got 80 videos, so take a look, and it'll be titled Gold Coast University, Shame on You. One doctor said to me that, look, I'm sorry, we don't take patients and give them TLC. We just don't have the resources. We can't. His name was Adam, and I'll always remember his name, and I'll always mention his name, because how many Adams are there in this whole world? How many Adams work at the hospital, for God's sake? Probably quite a few. Anyway, so he told me, and when he told me this, I thought, you know what? I wasn't I was on strong medication at the time, but not continuously, just on and off for when I needed it. And anyway, so with this, I went mental and I asked for a psych consult. And I said to the doctor, admit me, put me in. I want to come off my Zoloft and go on something that's better, because Zoloft can give you suicidal tendencies. So put me in. And he warned me and he said, look, mental health here is serious and we have a lot of bad cases. And I said, I don't care. I just want to come off this Zoloft. It's driving me crazy. It's making me feel suicidal and I shouldn't. So we've gone from getting no pain relief to going off my head because I'm having suicidal thoughts, and I got a consult through psych. So they voluntarily admitted me, and that does make a difference apparently, because if you're not voluntary admitted, then you have to spend so many hours in the psych mental health for them to try and fix your problem. And there were a few cases in there, but to be honest with you, I met a few really nice people that just had problems like myself. Nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with them. Well, there was something wrong with them mentally, but then there was something mentally wrong with me as well. I want to talk about suicide prevention today because it not only hits home, it's terrifying me at the moment because someone else in my life is feeling the same way that I used to feel. And unfortunately, feeling that way is the worst thing you can ever feel. And if you ever want to know how someone feels when they think of suicide and they put a plan together, ring up Beyond Blue and ask them. They told me, and the funniest thing was that was exactly what I was going through. They helped me a great deal. They put me in contact, no one could have been in charge of anything back then, in contact with a certain person who contacted me, and they contacted me every 8 hours. This was a voluntary service, so thank you very much for the volunteers. I don't know whether they still do it because it's been a few years now since I've changed medication. But they rang me every 8 hours, and why they did it every 8 hours is because research does say that between the ages of 15 and 44, 200 people a day, 8 are successful. Between 8 to 12 hours is when you're likely to follow through with these plans. So instead of ringing you every 12 hours and missing the person could have actually tried and then have been dead for 4 hours, they would ring you every 8 hours. Actually, it was every 6 to 8 hours. So, and I was very thankful. And there were times that I didn't want to answer that call, but they said to me, this will be the number we're calling from. You can't call us. We've barred him coming, and that's great because can you just imagine the mental cases that they'd speak to? But we will call you, and this is the number. If you don't answer, we give you 10 seconds, we ring you back. If you don't answer, we ring 000 and we send the police to get you to take you to hospital, and you will not have a choice in the matter because we have the authority to ring the police, who will come and collect you, yelling, screaming, whatever the case may be. And, yep. They didn't have to do that. I answered the phone on all occasions until I could see my GP because I didn't want to go to the ER. And I have been to the ER now. It was the time that I actually, the time after when I actually came out of mental health, I went to the ER. They have this lovely little room. You get put into that room. It's not locked up. You can have coffee, tea. Your family can go in there. And you discuss with a clinical nurse, which is a registered nurse that's been who does extra training in a certain field. You speak to a clinical nurse. He or she assesses you. And in my particular case, they said, look, we're going to recommend we up your medication. And I went, yep, no worries, beautiful. If at any stage they do feel through their questioning, and they're so good at questioning, you don't even realise why and what they're asking. You just don't put it together in your head. And it's got nothing to do with the medication that they have offered you, because you started on a very mild dose. Now, in this particular case, he tripled my medication from 50 to 150. And yes, it was a big jump, but this particular medication had to be started off at 50 grams. Usually, don't lick my foot, please. That's the dog, sorry. Say hello to everyone, Bambi. I am getting a scratch right now from my nana. And I love my scratches by my nana. Anyway, so this particular medication, you went on 50 milligrams for, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks. I think it was 3 to 4 weeks, actually. Then I rocked up at the ER, and then Steve, lovely Steve, then said to me, yep, it's safe now. We're going to put you up to 150, because you are having certain thoughts, although you're not planning it anymore. You're having the thoughts, but you're not planning it. Having and planning it is a big deal. Having the thought is a big deal, but not as big as planning it, because you don't have a plan in your head to go through, to do it, and to see the end. For example, dead at the end. All right, I got it off your foot. Bloody hell, you dilly-dilly. You dilly-dilly. Brain fog, sorry. So I'm just not gonna start where I thought I was, because I can't remember where I was. And he said, look, it's safe, we're going to put you up. I will write a note to GP, and I will tell Dr. Wainwright, that was my doctor at the mental health wing, what we've done. And if he disagrees, he will give me a call, and I'll call you back within the next whatever, you know. Those calls meant the world to me. And if you suffer depression and anxiety, you know yourself that some days you just want to crawl up in a fetal position and not speak to anyone. My best friend and myself are the same. Sometimes she will ring me and I'll say, look, I feel like shit today, blah, 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 and we'll end up talking for 8 hours. We'll end up talking for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Or sometimes she doesn't answer her phone. And I want to say this in the nicest way possible, because I love her, and to be honest with you, she's my sister. That's how much I love her. She's my sister. She's family. She's not a friend. She's family. Now, I say that she is exactly like me when I was first unmedicated, not on medication for it. She does show signs of depression, anxiety, and I only wish she would actually go on some medication. When her husband died, her partner died, going back years ago, 10 years I think now, a little bit more than 10 years. He died of a heart attack at work. She went on antidepressants and anxiety tablets, because if you can imagine, you're the one person you love in that whole wide world. Well, not just the one person, because you've got your mother, your father, all those two, your daughter, your son, whoever, right? But the man that you're in love with, he passes away suddenly. Police come to your door and tell you. No wonder she went on antidepressant tablets. So she went on these tablets, and she went on them for so long, 6 months, a year, and she came off them. She was weaned off them. But at this stage, I do know that she needs them, and the anxiety side of things as well. But I'm on NDEP. I'm on NDEP for depression, anxiety, and it helps with the painkillers. So I'm so sorry. I've had a 5 milligram Valium this morning. I'm supposed to have a half, but my back is killing me. It's probably the position too, but even when I lie down, it hurts. So anyway, excuse me if the phone jitters, because I tend to move my feet, move my hands when I've got pain, to sort of redirect from the foot, from doing this, to going, with the pain. So anyway, she does. And I know she needs to go on antidepressants. I have told her, but the thing is, you can only tell certain people once or twice. It's up to them to follow through. I honestly don't believe she feels she needs them. I wish she would go on them because she has a lot to cope with at the moment. Majority is her pain, but she does have a lot to cope with. She tells me I have a lot to cope with. No wonder I'm on what I am. But to be honest with you, she copes with a lot herself. I'm surrounded by people that, well, my husband suffers anxiety as well. And it's funny, when we moved out of Tagum to the Gold Coast, when we reunited again, was after a massive breakdown. He helped me, he brought me up here, helped me get better, blah, blah, blah. Not a lot of people know that story. I haven't even told my own daughter. My best friend, my sister, knows that story, and I don't think I will ever be able to. One day I may tell you viewers, one day I may, because it's a Romeo Juliet situation, but not so romantic type of thing. Hey, stop biting my fingers, please. Stop biting my fingers. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. So jump on me instead. Do you want to go toilet? Oh, God, that's her. She wants to go. All right, let's go. Stop biting, though. Lead the way. Lead the way. Lead the way. Lead the way. Stop biting. Do you know, if I fall over, you're goners, baby girl. Get downstairs. Get down there. Get down there. Get down. I don't know whether you can see her because I'm not sure where the camera's focused on it. And just excuse me, I have taken some more Valium, so 5 milligrams this morning. Doctors said to me half in the morning, which is 2.5, and a full one at night. And actually, I have to say, this morning was the first time I didn't wake in. I mean, I woke in pain, but not in sheer agony sort of pain. All right, outside, go toilet. So where was I? So yeah, I have expressed to my sister that she needs to go on some sort of depression tablets, but you have to help yourself. That's all I have to say. So, all right, so we're downstairs now, which there will be better light. So yes. So at the moment, I have a beautiful daughter in my life who is having suicidal thoughts, and she has a plan to go through with it. So this is where I now need to step in, and I now need to be able to tell her that, well, she knows my story. She was there for me when I needed help, and I checked myself into the mental health wing. So I was lucky it was brand new too. All right, so sitting outside, I'll show you the beautiful day it is. From an upside point of view, of course. Yeah, so suicide, terrible thing. There's even a forest in Japan, I can't pronounce its name, but apparently if you commit suicide within this certain boundary, your body's off bounds. Something to do with the Japanese culture. But if you commit suicide that's not inside the certain part of the forest, then obviously your body can be taken away, and if you have family, they can bury you, cremate you, whatever their religious beliefs are. Suicide has been something that has been... You look at euthanasia. I watched my father die of cancer, and I'm sorry, but his end of life was terrible. Absolutely. He was so dosed up on diazepam, it is the same as Valium, that sometimes it can hasten your death. However, he fought it to the very end. I'll never forget this, never. He was so anxious, he was up and down at the end. He knew this was his last. Normally when you're on a certain amount of Valium, even myself on 5 milligrams of Valium along with all my other meds, it can stop your thinking patterns. You know, I can't even concentrate on one particular part. Or when I was with the doctor the other day, I couldn't even concentrate on her eyes. Like, I just couldn't. I physically couldn't. My eyes just wouldn't do it. I guess what I was saying is he fought the medication to the very end, where it was probably 3 o'clock in the morning, where I was sound asleep with him in his room, but in a fold-out bed. And he just fell asleep in the end. He fought it. He fought that death. And that's one memory I hate having. That's why when the doctors told me, when my mother went to hospital, from the minute she had the heart attack at the nursing home, they rang me. I said, yes, take her to hospital. She got to hospital. There was no hope. She was going into cardiac arrest. But the thing is, we've been told that so many times. There were 5 of us, 4 humans and a dog. 3 humans and a dog. We couldn't find anywhere to stay. So the only place we could get to stay was our regular house we used to stay in, which was called the Grey House in Grafton. So if you're ever in there in Grafton, it's a beautiful homestead. It's 3 bedrooms, it's beautiful. I'll do a vlog on it one day. Now we were due to go down there in 3 days' time from when I was told. I got a call at 4:30 in the morning telling me that my mum had passed away peacefully in her sleep. Thanks God. Thank you very much for taking her peacefully. The one thing I did not want for her was the anxiety that came through death. I guess even though my dad was on morphine, he still knew that it was his time. He knew. And that was the worst experience for him. And this is why I made the decision. And I guess my daughter agreed with me, because she was always around when I told my mum, or most of the time. I told all staff to tell her, no, you have to wait, that mum was well. The renal dialysis was still working. She was kicking along great. There was nothing wrong. Her blood tests and all that were within range. And that's because I didn't want mum. They told me that it would be a heart that gives way. And with that said, I didn't want mum to know that this was going to happen if this happened, if you get what I'm saying. So when the time comes and you feel very sleepy and you feel like you can hear your heart go 100 miles an hour, you're going to die. I made sure that no one told her her body was failing her. Because I didn't want the end that my dad had for my mum. No one deserves that. And I can only hope that my family does the same for me if something happens to me. Oh God, that reminds me too, I've got to get a health directive and I've got to get a will in place. So, going back to suicide, and it's a dreadful thing to talk about, but it really has to be spoken about. So if you do have suicidal thoughts, and if by chance you've made a plan in your head about how you're going to do that, then I do strongly suggest you seek help. I've listed some information below. The same information I looked at when I had my suicidal thought and plan. They helped me out. Beyond Blue helped me out a great deal. They weren't the ones that actually phoned me. I'm walking upstairs right now, so you're going to have to excuse me. They weren't the ones that phoned me every 8 hours. Some other company was that had trained staff. I answered every one of those calls, and that happened for 3 days because I couldn't get in to see my GP. And I didn't want to rock up at the ER. The pain. Now I'm on a medication, and since I've been on that medication, I'm glad to say that I've had absolutely no suicidal thoughts. Not even the hint of one. And I've had no plan to follow through with it. But there is someone in my family that has. And I just want them to get help right now. So I've given them all the information I can possibly give them. And I'm praying right now that, oh God, my back. This is after 5 milligrams. I'm still in pain. So I hope God can guide them right now, because she's in the room next to me, and I always make sure I listen out to hear her. And if I don't, and if she's got a headset in, I sometimes go in and check on her. I just make up an excuse to say, oh, hi, without her realising what I'm doing. Come on up, you come. Good girl. Got to give her a haircut next. Yes, you heard right. I've got to give you a haircut next. So, yep. So read the information below, and if you are suicidal and if you have a plan, or either one or both, get help. There are people that do love you. They care for you. If not love, if love's a strong word, okay, they care for you. They're strangers and they care for you. And this is a good thing. This is a wonderful thing. Because they care for you, and you think right now that no one does care for you maybe, or they don't care, they wouldn't miss you. Just call them. Just call them, and they will give you the help you need to start with. Good luck. Don't be one of those 8 Australians that commit suicide and go through with it. I mentioned and before I do end, I mentioned before that I wonder how many homeless people actually have suicidal thoughts and follow through on it. It doesn't mean you can't still get help. You may be able to rock up to the ER. Ring Beyond Blue. A payphone now accepts, I believe, certain phone numbers. Rock up. Go to your police station. Ring 000 from a payphone. If I was homeless and I wanted to commit suicide and I had a plan because I didn't want to be homeless anymore, ring 000. I don't know at this stage. I'll have to find out whether they can get you a home, especially here on the Gold Coast. We now have hundreds and hundreds of living opportunities because the games are now over. So the village itself, I don't know what they do with those apartments. I'm assuming they're now DHS, Department of Human Housing. I don't know. Maybe I need to do some investigating. But for now, people do care about you. People do care. Ring 000 from a payphone if you're homeless. Attend an emergency room or a, what do you call it, an ER or the emergency department of a hospital. Please, if I can ask you to do this, complete stranger, if I can ask you to do that one thing, I don't want you to be a successful one of those people that commit suicide and it does happen. You're successful. Please don't do it. I hope Beyond Blue, I hope one day Beyond Blue brings that figure down to zero. To zero. Or if they attempt suicide but the success rate is zero, I one day pray that that will happen. And I hope that every other Christian out there can pray today that the same thing will happen. You can't stop suicide, but you can stop the success rate. And I hope to God one day He will stop that success rate. 200 attempts to 0 successions. I love you guys. Take care. Toodaloo. Bye-bye. Keep smiling, or smile, because guess what? I will smile back. Take care. Love you guys. Get help if you need it. It's there. And do it now.